The first thing folks noticed about me that morning wasn't my voice or the way I stood in front of that glossy black Tesla. It was my clothes. My shirt was wrinkled, shoes scuffed, and the cold wind whipping through downtown made me look even smaller than I already was. But I wasn't there to ask for pity. I squared my shoulders, looked a billionaire dead in the eye, and said, "Excuse me, sir. Give me 1 minute. I've got a proposal that could change your life." Elliot Vaughn froze mid-step. He was the kind of man who could silence a room just by walking in with silver hair, slicked back a custom Italian suit, and a look that screamed he didn't have time for anybody like me. "Kid," he scoffed, "I don't hand out cash. There are shelters for that." "I'm not asking for money," I said, steadying my voice. "My name's Jaden Carter, 17 years old, and I'm offering you an investment opportunity that'll make your company millions." The look on his face said it all: confusion, then amusement. He chuckled a low, dry laugh and unlocked his car. "An investment opportunity. You don't even look like you finished high school. Graduated at 15, I shot back. Straight A's. And I've spent the last 2 years studying this city's real estate market. I know exactly where your next 10 million should go." For a second, something flickered in his eyes: curiosity. He crossed his arms and tilted his head. 30 seconds. Impress me. I pulled a folded piece of paper from my pocket, smoothing it out with fingers that still had calluses from nights spent cleaning office floors. "Lot 218 on Jefferson Avenue. Everyone's written it off because of the soil contamination, but the damage is shallow, and there's a cheap brand new cleanup method the university developed. And here's the kicker." I paused, letting the tension stretch, watching his blue eyes narrow. "The city council just approved an extension of the Red Line subway. The station opens right underneath that property in 18 months. Its value is about to skyrocket." Elliot's jaw tightened. That information wasn't public. I could see the wheels turning in his head. He'd tried to get that intel himself and failed. "How'd you find that out?" "I worked janitorial at City Hall for 6 months," I said. "You'd be amazed what people toss in the trash when they think no one's paying attention." A few passers-by had slowed down, sensing something was happening here. A billionaire talking to a kid in worn sneakers like they were equals. Elliot studied me for a long moment, then smirked like he'd indulged himself enough. "Interesting," he said, taking the USB I held out. "I'll look into it. If your intel's worth anything, maybe I'll throw you a bonus." "I'm not asking for a bonus," I said, standing my ground. "I want 20% of the profits." That broke him. He burst out laughing, head thrown back like I'd told the funniest joke of his life. "Kid, you don't have a company. You've got no capital, and your address is probably the back of a bus stop. 20%. You're lucky if I give you lunch money." He slipped into his car, smirking as he shut the door. As the Tesla pulled away, I stood on that sidewalk, my heart hammering. He thought I was stupid. He thought I was desperate. What he didn't know was that the USB he'd just plugged into his laptop would do more than deliver proof about a piece of land. It was the key to dismantling everything he'd built on greed and arrogance. That night, I sat in the quietest corner of the university library, the one place I could work without being asked to leave. Across from me, Professor Miranda Lee adjusted her glasses as she scrolled through documents. She'd been my only ally for months, a brilliant economics professor who saw through my tattered clothes and realized I wasn't some troublemaker. I was a kid obsessed with cracking the system that had spit me out. "The evidence is airtight," she said, passing me another report. "The contracts, the insider info between Vaughn and Parker, this is bigger than we thought." I nodded. I'd spent months piecing together his entire empire shell companies in his wife's name. Bribes dressed up as consulting fees, real estate deals that ruined neighborhoods while lining his pockets. Every night I worked janitorial shifts. I'd pocket discarded drafts, snap photos of files, no one guarded, connect dots, no one wanted connected. Vaughn wasn't just rich, he was untouchable. Until now. "You're sure about this?" Miranda asked. "Taking down a man like him. This could ruin your life." "My life was ruined a long time ago," I said quietly. "Now I get to rewrite it." 2 days later, Vaughn texted me. $5 grand for your time. That's it. Take it or leave it." I showed Miranda laughing bitterly. He's not offering 5 grand for my info, I said. He's paying me to disappear. I texted back, 20% or no deal. His reply was instant. You clearly don't understand how the world works. He was right about one thing I didn't understand, his world where people like me stayed silent and grateful for crumbs. But I'd spent months building my own. The USB he'd plugged in had copied every single document he'd opened, every email, every transfer. Vaughn thought he was untouchable, but arrogance was predictable. By the next morning, Vaughn's accountant was calling him in a panic. I imagined the scene perfectly. Vaughn's silk robe, espresso, untouched phone to his ear. Mr. Vaughn, someone's accessed all the files for the Jefferson Avenue property. Transactions, contracts, everything's been copied to external servers. What he must have barked, because I could almost hear the panic in his voice through Miranda's grin. That's impossible. Those files are locked down. Sir, it was accessed through the USB drive you connected. I pictured him ripping it out of his computer too late, his face turning red because at that very moment, news stations were breaking the story. SEC launches investigation into Elliot Vaughn for insider trading and corruption. His phone rang again this time. Parker, his crooked contact at City Hall, voice shaking. Elliot, they've got recordings. Our meetings, the contracts. Someone leaked everything. And right then, Vaughn called me. You, he growled. I told you, I said calmly, I had a proposal that could change your life. What do you want? Money. I'll wire you $1 million right now if you drop this. You can't pay off the truth. Mr. Vaughn, I said, you really did commit insider trading. The SEC already has the recordings, the documents, the bank transfers. They froze your accounts an hour ago. Impossible, he hissed. But even as he said it, sirens wailed in the background. How do you think I knew they were coming? I asked softly. Because I called them. He swore, desperate now. We can work this out. 20% like you wanted. 50. I closed my eyes, steadying my voice. You had your chance to do right by me. You offered me crumbs. Now you'll watch me build a feast without you. The next sound I heard was the heavy knock on his office door, followed by the agents storming in. He dropped the phone as they cuffed him, dragging him out past employees who'd never seen him look small. 6 months later, I stood on a makeshift stage in front of a crowd gathered on Jefferson Avenue, the very street where he'd mocked me. Behind me, construction crews were breaking ground for something Vaughn would never have imagined. The Carter Lee Housing Center, a project for homeless students like me funded by grants and investors who saw value in my work. Miranda handed me a ceremonial key, tears glinting behind her glasses. On behalf of the university and the community, she said, "Thank you for proving intelligence doesn't come with a price tag." The crowd roared, but across town in a gray prison cell, Vaughn sat alone watching the broadcast. He'd been sentenced to 22 years. His empire dissolved, his family gone. I wondered if he'd recognized me on that screen, not just as the kid he'd dismissed, but as the person who'd turned his own arrogance into a weapon. Reporters later asked if I felt revenge was sweet. I told them the truth. This isn't revenge. Revenge destroys. Justice builds. And I wasn't done building. Harvard had offered me a full scholarship, but I'd stayed in the city to expand the housing project. Kids like me deserved better than bus stop benches and broken promises. Sometimes I think back to that morning, the billionaire in his polished shoes and me with my shaking hands, and I smile. He thought my question was laughable. Can I have a minute of your time? But that minute rewrote everything. Now I'm curious, if you were in his position, would you have listened? Or would you have laughed too? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you've seen arrogance like his, if you've ever been underestimated, or if you've been the one doing the underestimating. And hey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because these stories aren't just entertainment. They're proof that intelligence, grit, and integrity can topple empires.